Well, good evening. One of my favorite descriptions of photography is the very old phrase, fixing the shadows. It describes so well the magic of capturing a moment so we can hold it in our hands forever. Today it's easy to forget how amazing it was to those who first captured those early images. It was their exploration that changed the way we see the world, how we look at photography as art, and how we'll continue to capture the world around us. Light is the medium. The art and the craft are in the infinite possibilities for composition, exposure, focus, color, and powered by inspiration and imagination, pushing the tools to their limits. Photography is the only universal language for documentation and communication of our world because words are not necessary and language is not an obstacle. Honoring the art of imagery, the International Photography Hall of Fame and Museum celebrates 50 years of artistic excellence, technical innovation, and pure passion. And I want to welcome you all to one of the first events at the all-new .ZAC, made possible by Nancy and Ken Kranzberg. The ZAC was named for their grandson, Zach. Perhaps you've heard of the Kranzbergs. Nancy and Ken have made many things possible in Grand Center, bringing the International Photography Hall of Fame to St. Louis, and the Grand Center Arts District was one of them. We also want to thank the many lead sponsors for tonight's event: Emerson, Stewart Family Foundation, the Lawrence Group, and Anna Harris. IPHF was created by the Professional Photographers of America in Elkton, Illinois, to promote awareness and education of the history of photography, collect, exhibit, and preserve historical items and images, and to honor significant contributors to the evolution of the art and science of photographic images. IPHF moved from Illinois to Santa Barbara, California, to the Brooks Institute, and on to Oklahoma City. 3 years ago, IPHF was looking for a new home because the museum they were housed in closed. And after a nationwide search, the International Photography Hall of Fame and Museum settled into its new home in St. Louis in the Grand Center Arts District. St. Louis is known for its intense passion for photography, with 12 institutions of higher education, over 35 high schools providing photography, and the first camera club in the USA. And as a personal note, I must say that 30 years ago, I met my wife at a photo shoot. This year's induction inspired St. Louis jewelry designer Adam Foster to create a medallion for the class of 2016 inductees. And medallions will be provided to past recipients or their families as well. The medallion's beautiful. A solid bronze camera lens, a work of art in its own right. And now I would like to ask Anna Harris, president of the International Photography Hall of Fame, a photographer, and the chairperson of the 2016 Induction Committee, and professional photographer Bob Bishop, to join me on stage to present the awards. And after each presentation, we ask recipients to stop for a quick photo before coming off the stage. And now, we proudly announce the 2016 inductees. American documentary director Ken Burns is known for his insightful, visually captivating Emmy and Academy Award-winning documentaries. He created a signature visual effect of panning, tilting, zooming across archival photographs. And impressed by the impact of the move, Steve Jobs convinced Ken to have the effect not only named after himself, but to be installed as a feature on Apple's iPhoto, iMovie, and Final Cut Pro 10. We use it. So other documentary producers could achieve the same powerful visual result. Ken Burns is producing several films right now, even as we speak probably, but we were able to sit him down to talk to him about his love for photography and his induction.
Hi, I'm Ken Burns. First of all, I want to thank the International Photography Hall of Fame and Museum for this extraordinary honor. I am so sorry I can't be with you. I also want to say how honored I am to be among such extraordinary company. Some of my greatest heroes in photography are here. My very first memory at 2.5 is watching my father build a darkroom and being held in his very strong left arm in that eerie red light as he took a piece of paper that suddenly had an image on it. And that really set me on my course. I went to Hampshire College, though, in the fall of 1971, and I ran into two social documentary still photographers, Jerome Liebling and Elaine Mays, who reminded me that there is as much drama in what is this moment and what was our history than anything the human imagination makes up. And I've spent the remaining 40 plus years being not only a documentary filmmaker, but one who is interested in American history, trying to share the stories of my complicated republic. I remember that Jerome Liebling used to say to us, go, see, do, be. Get out in the world, look with different kinds of eyes, do, make that photograph, make that connection, and be present. And I think that this honor is sort of coming at the end of a life where I have tried always to go see, do, be, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Ken Burns, a treasure for PBS and the entire world. Austrian-born photographer Ernst Haas brought color to the world of professional photography in the 1950s. His vibrant images elevated color photography to an accepted art form in publications such as Life magazine, Look, and Vogue. Haas's groundbreaking 24-page color photo essay on New York City in 1953 was the first large color photo feature published in Life magazine, and a retrospective of his work was the first color photography exhibition ever held at New York's Museum of Modern Art. Ernst Haas passed away in 1986. Accepting the medallion is his daughter, Victoria Haas, speaking for herself and her brother, Alex.
Good evening. My brother Alexander and I, who have long supported and maintained our father's legacy in the history of color photography, want to express our deep appreciation for this incredible honor. We thank the board, and especially Patty, who after many lovely emails gathered us all here tonight to celebrate the 50th anniversary of this great organization. My father would be so thrilled to be honored alongside this year's great talents and those who previously honored, some of them who were his friends and his colleagues. To work creatively in the early days of color photography was a challenge, and one that my father embraced with great passion and curiosity. To say that my father loved photography is an understatement. Photography was his life and his heart. I often look at social media to see what young photographers say about my father, and alongside their favorite Ernst Haas photographs, if this one quote, "There is only you and your camera. The limitations in your photography are in yourself, and what we see is what we are." This past September 12th was the 30th anniversary of my father's death, and I remember his last words to me. "Stay curious, Victoria. Always stay curious." The Haas family is so grateful for this honor, and I can assure you that my father is smiling now, and that image is in color. I thank you so much.
Best known as the co-founder of Apple, Steve Jobs was the catalyst behind the graphical user interface, or GUI, and mouse, which led to the development of Photoshop and other tools, revolutionizing the art of filmmaking, music production, and digital imagery. Jobs' passion for photography drove Apple to continuously enhance the image capturing capabilities of the iPhone, empowering every owner to elevate snapshots into photography with a suite of photographic enhancements. The iPhone now takes more pictures than any other camera ever made. Jobs also helped grow Pixar from the internal graphics division of Lucasfilm into a groundbreaking visual software company and digital filmmaking pioneer. Here to say a few words on his behalf is Michael Swoboda. Michael Swoboda is an associate professor for the Design, Visual, and Performing Arts Department at St. Louis Community College at Merrimack and coordinates the graphic, communications, and digital media programs. He's been awarded many teaching honors, including Professor of the Year at Maryville University, Outstanding Graduate Teaching Award for the Art History, and Design Department at the University of Notre Dame, and most recently, the Emerson Award for Excellence in Teaching for 2016. Michael's been a professional designer and digital imaging specialist for over 15 years, and his work has been featured in publications such as Communication Arts Magazine, and has been honored with National American Alliance of Museum Awards for the design of museum exhibition catalogs. Michael Swoboda.
Good evening as well. So nice to see so many familiar faces. It is hard to describe what an honor it is for me to say a few words in the induction of Steve Jobs in the Photography Hall of Fame. Equally hard would it be for me to add any nuanced insights to or about his life and accomplishments, as these things have been well documented and expounded upon, especially to an audience such as this. We know of his tremendous focus, his aspirations in crafting things that are beautiful, both in their visual aspects as well as their intended uses. We know of his mighty strengths, his vision, his love of innovation, his power to persuade and inspire. We know of some of his weaknesses as well. Nearly all of us own countless machines that Apple has manufactured and sold to us. These physical articles of his and his team's labors have made our lives better and vastly more interesting. In doing so, these devices have helped to transform the way we record and share the experiences of our lives. Steve Jobs did not write the following quotation. It was used in a commercial that was developed during Apple's Renaissance in the late 1990s, and it reads as a perfect eulogy. Here's to the crazy ones, the rebels, the troublemakers, the ones who see things differently. They are not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. Thank you.
Sebastião Salgado is an internationally respected photojournalist and documentary photographer who has captured dramatic images in over 120 countries. Drawn to social issues that impact the human race, Salgado is focused on the plights of migrant workers, refugees, devastating oil field fires in Kuwait, and global conservation, including an 8-year expedition to over 30 countries to document life and nature as it might have been at the dawn of creation. He is a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador and author of 9 books. Here to accept the award for Sebastião is his colleague and friend, photographer Stuart Halpern. For over 45 years, St. Louis-based photographer Stuart Halpern has traveled the world with his cameras, from major cities to some of the most remote places on the planet. His passion for photography started in the rainforest of both Tanzania and Rwanda. It was there, working with both Dr. Jane Goodall at the Gombe Stream National Park and Diane Fossey in mountains of Rwanda, that started his journey to photographing the world as it turns. Soon after, he met one of our recipients this evening, Ernst Haas, who became a mentor, a friend, and a colleague until his untimely death in 1986. Stuart's work is hung in galleries around the world, but he is most proud of the permanent photo workshop series that he helped develop at the Shaw Nature Reserve, right here in the St. Louis area, bringing in photographers each month of the year for the past 3 years.
Let's see. I can't tell you what an honor it is for me to accept this award for Sebastio. This evening, imagine my double pleasure having my mentor and friend Ernst Haas receiving an award also this evening through his daughter Victoria, who I've known since the 70s when she was just a toddler. Joke, joke. Two giants in the photo world. To make it even more emotional for me, imagine Ernst's creation published in 1971 and Sebastio's Genesis published in 2013. Two of the most amazing visual pieces of work on the planet. Sebastio was born in Brazil in 1944, and in his first life he was an economist. This took him to some of the most remote parts of the world. He saw the plight of struggling people and the desecration of our planet. By 1974, he shifted directions, and at a rather late age, but maybe not so late, at 30, he turned to photography, but still document people across the globe and the state of our earth, both good and bad. To me, what stands out most about Sebastio's work is incredible commitment to time to further these ends. Time to reach a location, time to understand a location, and the superhuman amount of time shooting a location. From 2004 until the end of 2011, he worked on his Genesis project, and finally in 2013, the images in the book were released. When I first saw the book, I almost decided not to ever pick my cameras up again. The images absolutely left me and most of us breathless. Is with such honor and a humble heart that I accept this award for Sebastio. He has set a standard so at many levels for the rest of us. Thanks very much.
Portrait photographer Annie Leibovitz brought the art of portraiture to the baby boomers. On the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, her intimate and exquisitely personal images have captured the personalities of rock legends like John Lennon, Rolling Stone Demi Moore, Caitlyn Jenner for the cover of Vanity Fair, the Les Miserables cover photograph, and a portrait series of Queen Elizabeth II. She was the first woman to have a show at the National Portrait Gallery in 1991. And now here to accept the award and say a few words about Annie Leibovitz is Susan Hacker-Stang. Susan Hacker-Stang was a professor of photography at Webster University for 41 years until her retirement in May of 2015. She continues to actively exhibit and publish her work. Most recently, a limited edition book of her photographs entitled Reappearances. Here she is.
Annie Leibovitz is being honored here this evening for her important contributions to photography, in particular for the stunning editorial and portrait work produced for Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, Vogue, and a variety of other books and publications. She was already a staff photographer at Rolling Stone when I was studying photography at Rhode Island School of Design in the late 60s. She was made chief photographer in 1973 when I was then in graduate school. In the male-dominated photography environment of that era, just imagine what a role model and inspiration she was for me and for other young women hoping to make a contribution to the medium someday. I am more than privileged to accept this award on her behalf. Thank you.
Graham Nash may be best known for his contributions to the legendary band Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. But his role as a digital image pioneer is equally profound. A renowned photographer, Nash began experimenting with digital imagery in the 1980s, but couldn't find a printer capable of reproducing what he saw on his computer screen. His fine art digital print company, Nash Editions, adapted the Iris printer to produce high-quality digital photography and art prints as large as 3 feet by 4 feet. Nash Editions is recognized by the Smithsonian Institution for its accomplishments in fine arts and digital printing. Please help me welcome accomplished photographer and creator of fine art digital printing, Graham Nash.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this honor. I want to thank the International Hall of Fame photographers and their museum, and I promise that I will do more to support them because this has been an eye-opening event here. I guess some of you may know that I've been a musician for most of my life. I started being a musician when I was 13 years old. But I must tell you that before that, I was taking images, before I was making music. There's an image of mine out there that I took of my mother when I was 11. I am incredibly honored to be mentioned in the same breath as some of the people that, I mean, if you look at that wall out there of past inductees, I mean, it's insane. I have no idea why I'm here, but I've always followed magic in my life, and it seems to have followed me all my life. 2 interesting pieces of magic. When I was 10 years old, my father, William, showed me the magic of photography, putting a blank piece of paper into a colorless liquid and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting forever for a 10-year-old until the image came floating out of nowhere. It was magic to me. I knew my life had changed at that moment. Later on in my life, I was asked to do a show in Tokyo in Japan. And they wanted 50 images, and that was no problem. They wanted, an addition of 50, and that was no problem. But they wanted them 4 feet square. And that was a problem. I didn't know anybody that had a darkroom that big, that could do this. I certainly didn't. Whenever I've had a problem in my life, I've only had to really turn around, and the answer has been staring me in the face. And this problem that I had was one of those. A friend of mine, Charlie Wurrenberg, called me from San Francisco, and he said, "Have you any idea what an iris printer is?" And I had to admit I didn't know. And so he set me up at a place in Los Angeles where I went to see this machine. And they put a piece of paper on this drum, and it spun at a tremendous amount and slowed down and stopped, and there was this image. The actual image was quite shitty. It was a bride with a bunch of flowers. But the process was magic. The printer was $124,000. I bought it immediately. Me and my friend Mac Holbert, who started Nash Editions with me, we voided the warranty in the first 10 minutes. And we didn't give a shit that it cost $124,000. I was talking with Al Lucchese, who was the president of Iris Graphics, and I asked him, I said, "Look, turn around to your machine. What do you see?" He says, I see 80% of the magazine business. I said, "Okay, turn around and look at me and Mac. What do you see?" "I see 2 hippies from California," he said. I said, "Okay, I'll tell you what. I can guarantee you that in the future you will make more money with your machine printing photographs than you ever did designing for magazines." And he thought I was crazy. And I asked him 2 questions. The first question was, this $124,000 color machine, does it print black and white? Which kind of shocked him. And I said, "And how about the inks? How long do the inks last?" And I've been steadfastly trying to work with Epson, who have been very, very kind to Nash Editions, on their new ink set. And about 3 days ago, I met with the ink expert at Epson, and he told me that their black and white new ink set will last for 400 years. That's amazing. I mean, you can print in your living room now. Amazing. Once again, I've been an incredibly lucky man. I've done things in my life that have amazed even me. I'm very honored and very grateful to have this honor. I wish you peace.
Wow, Graham Nash. The next two inductees are brothers. Thomas Knoll created the first core image processing routines for Photoshop in 1988. After seeing the individual programs his brother had created for digital image manipulation, John Kroll bundled the multiple effect program into a single platform they called Photoshop, which has become the digital photo industry standard used around the world. Thomas and his brother John licensed Photoshop to Adobe in 1989, and Thomas continues his digital pioneering work at Adobe, developing a continuous stream of Photoshop enhancements and related products, including the Camera Raw plugin, Adobe Lightroom, and the DNG file format. Please help me welcome Thomas Knoll.
So I was actually told that this is the first year that they're inducting people that aren't dead yet. So I'm thankful for that. I first have to thank my brother, who, it was a collaboration between the two of us, and it never would have happened without the synergy and the back and forth of ideas, and it was truly amazing collaborative process creating Photoshop. So you'll hear from him very shortly, and he was working at the time at Industrial Light and Magic at sort of an entry-level position, and now he's sort of become more of a bigwig there. So be sure to see Rogue One in December. So that's his baby. I have to thank my parents who sort of created a household where we were able to grow up and achieve our full potential in doing all this, and in particular my dad, who introduced me to photography when I was 11 years old by giving me a Argus rangefinder camera as my Christmas present. And he set up a darkroom in our basement and sort of taught me how to make black and white prints. I sort of started analyzing the process of the printing process from a scientific basis, and made charts and analyzing the contrast ranges of various papers, and was able to sort of quantify the process. When I was actually starting to learn image processing on a digital computer as part of my PhD work at the University of Michigan, I sort of fell back on a lot of the things I learned in that dark room. And so a lot of the early processing routines that made it into Photoshop were a direct result of my experience as a teenager and dealing with images. I also have to thank all the other engineers and marketing managers and testers at Adobe who have spent the last 25 years improving Photoshop, and it is a far larger, more capable program today because of that. So they really work hard every day, and they don't get the they don't get to come up on stage and get all these honors, but they do a lot of the work now, so I have to thank them. And I also have to thank sort of the other players in the industry. When Photoshop 1 came out, it was really not a photography tool because there wasn't really practical means of getting images into the computer, and there were especially not practical means of getting the images out of a computer. At the time Photoshop 1 came out, scanner technology was very expensive. To buy a 300 DPI flatbed scanner, which you can now buy for $50 or less, it was $7,000, and it was a fairly slow process to scan in an image. But the problem became, how do you get the image out of the computer? And we were able to write digital routines that you can make magic things happen on the screen, but there was really no practical way of getting it out of it other than making 4-color separations and doing a printing press run. So the Photoshop 1.0 was really a product aimed at graphic designers and people that were creating things to go to the print media, because but photographers who wanted to print like one photograph or one copy of a photograph were really out of luck. And that changed when other people in the industry developed products that fit in with Photoshop and created the photography workflow we have today. And the first of those products to come out was the inkjet printer, which previous inductee Graham was very important in getting available and developing the technologies involved there. And the other big breakthrough for the digital photography was the digital camera. So when digital cameras came out, suddenly it became very easy to get the photographs into Photoshop, and with inkjet printers it became very easy to get the images out of out of the computer. So it became a real photography tool at that point. So a lot of work from other people sort of enabled Photoshop to become what it is today. So thank you.
John Knoll is the Chief Creative Officer at Industrial Light and Magic, creator of Knoll Light Factory, a digital lens flare generating software, and with his brother Thomas is co-creator of Adobe Photoshop. Still enchanted by the possibilities of digital image enhancement, John Knoll is a well-known visual effects supervisor, digital artist, and camera operator for top-tier films such as Star Trek: The Next Generation, Pacific Rim, Avatar, and the Pirates of the Caribbean series. Please help me welcome John Knoll.
Hi, thank you for this wonderful recognition. A lot of people ask, so what's it like, having been part of the team that created Photoshop? And the way this all began, Tom and I had no real commercial aspirations for this. This started as a little hobby thing, just he and I in our apartments. And it sort of came out of a few conversations and some exposure that I'd had both to the nascent ILM computer graphics department and some of the things that was happening there, and then Tom showing me some of the work that he was doing on his doctoral thesis. And it started off with us just sort of kind of making something that we both wanted to just play with. And I'll admit, I'm the one who kind of spoiled that sort of the innocent period there with a, I think this might have commercial potential. Would you object if I went and talked to some people I know? And it turned out that that did have some commercial potential, and it sort of kept building. And so I made it way worse when it occurred to me that we had an opportunity that is really kind of a once-in-a-lifetime thing, that this is an opportunity that might not ever happen again. And you know, what I really need you to do, Tom, is to stop work on your thesis and work on the program full time. And, you know, that was just going to be for 6 months because, you know, get the program done in 6 months and then he could go back and, you know, but it didn't quite work out that way. And you can blame me for why he did not get introduced just now as Dr. Noel. That's sort of my fault. Sorry, Tom. Sorry, Mom. Sorry about that. I regret nothing. But you know, and then in the next few years, it continued to sort of grow and grow. And I still remember pretty vividly the first time I actually heard Photoshop mentioned on a TV show somewhere. And it was, you know, it was this actually kind of a shocking moment because it was just such an out of context thing that somebody was mentioning Photoshop on a TV show. And that's sort of built, and it's actually kind of an everyday occurrence now. And you know, Photoshop becoming a verb is still a bit surreal to me. So, you know, what's it like? You know, I think probably the best analogy is it's almost like having a child. You know, that you know, you with your spouse you conceive this thing, and it's just something you know about at the beginning, and it's, you know, small, and then, you know, the child is born and, you know, now can walk, and, oh, hey, look at that, it's speaking now, and you know, it becomes more and more accomplished. Eventually it grows up, moves out, and has its own very accomplished career, and so what's it like? Well, for me, it's kind of like being a proud parent, so I'm very, very pleased to have seen the great success that it's had, and that it's sort of become a part of all of your families as well. So thank you for all the support you've given us. So yeah, thank you so much for this great honor, and thank you.
Thank you. And now, please help me welcome to the International Hall of Fame the class of 2016 inductees. And now, we ask you now to join us for a celebration dinner, fun presentations, and music from Mo upstairs on the 4th floor. There are 2 elevators on your left as you exit the auditorium. Thank you very much for coming. This is such a great evening. Thank you.